What's happening, everybody? Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We got judges being indicted by federal grand juries. Alrighty then. We wanted to see some judges take some crap, and now we are getting it. Giddy up. Let's go. Also, Democrats just can't let Kilmar Garcia go. They can't let him go like a creepy ex just won't stop talking about you. Democrats just won't let this man go, despite the fact he is definitely a gang member. Definitely a gang member. Also, Democratic Rep Ro Khanna has put forth legislation to codify President Trump's prescription drug pricing into law, which is exactly what needs to happen. For this to go forward, it has to be a law, or pharmaceutical companies are going to try and block it. They've done it before. They'll do it again. Also, a federal judge says President Trump can use the Alien Enemies Act to get rid of illegal immigrants. Gavin Newsom pulls back health care for illegal immigrants, disincentivizing them from coming in the first place. And at the end of the show today, I'm going to show you something that's going to make you cry. It's just what I do. We'll all cry together. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. We all got to tug those heartstrings a little bit. Before we get started, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, everybody for rocking, everybody for rolling today. Let's get this live chat up on the screen. Big number, big number, big number, big number, big number. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Guys, make sure you're following the page. 104,000 followers here on LFA TV. Let's make sure we can get that number nice and high. If you haven't made an account yet on Rumble, quite frankly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Make that account. Help us get it to 105,000 today. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Chat, let me know where exactly it is you're watching from. You guys know I love to hear that. Do me a favor, everybody. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. That is the best way to support this show, this program, and all the activism we have going on over here. For my local audience, we're going to have some big announcements coming up, particularly out of the town of Massapequa. Massapequa, which of course has been in the news recently. We'll get you those updates once I get them. Guys, loudmajorityusa.com. Use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off. Check out all the great merch we have over there. That is the best way to support this program. Consider becoming a monthly donor. Giddy up. Let's go. Giddy up. JV, where did you see that? JV, shoot me that. Stony Brook, my alma mater. I didn't see that in the news, but I will check that out. So, federal judges are being indicted by grand juries. It turns out, Democrats, no one is above the law. It turns out if you are a federal judge and you, help an illegal immigrant evade ICE, you're going to be prosecuted. Now, I do not think she'll be seeing any sort of serious jail time. Let's be honest here. She's connected. She's a judge. Judges almost never go to jail. I'm sure she knows every top lawyer in the country. However, this at least shows a grand jury, just people, just regular people, who indicted the Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan, has been charged with helping an illegal immigrant evade ICE with federal agents when federal agents showed up in a courtroom last month. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel said Dugan was indicted on May 13th after a hearing that lasted throughout the day. She was previously charged with obstructing a federal agency as well as concealing a person to prevent an arrest from taking place. The two-page indictment details the case, and she is facing up to 6 years in jail as well as a $350,000 fine. Now, everybody pump the brakes, okay? We live in the real world here. Nobody actually gets the maximum sentence that is bestowed upon them. So everybody just pump the brakes. Everybody just chill here. Would I like to see this woman thrown in jail? I absolutely would. Do I think she should be thrown in jail? Yes. Do I think she should be made an example out of? Absolutely. To prevent this sort of thing from happening again. Do I think she's going to get sick? Not a chance. Not a chance. Nobody gets their maximum sentence. Nobody does. To be honest with you, me personally, if I was looking at 6 years in jail or a $350,000 fine, I might take the 6 years in jail. That's just me, though, because where the hell am I getting that money? A U.S. District Court Judge Lynn Edelman was presiding over Dugan's case as it was carried out. There was a grand jury of 20 people, and 12 of them voted in favor of the indictment to reach the decision, although the total vote was not disclosed, which is common for grand jury proceedings. On April 25th, the FBI took Dugan into custody, with FBI Director Kash Patel announcing the arrest, saying, quote, "The FBI has arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an illegal immigrant arrest operation last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse." Federal authorities were attempting to take Eduardo Flores Ruiz into custody, who was facing multiple misdemeanor counts of battery at the time he was at Dugan's courthouse. Dugan allegedly helped him, as well as his attorney, exit the courthouse while agents showed up to arrest Flores Ruiz, assuming he would be deported. In the wake of her arrest and the charges, Wisconsin Supreme Court gave her a temporary suspension, writing in the order, in the exercise of constitutional authority and in order to uphold the public confidence in the court, as of this state during the pendency of the criminal proceeding against Judge Dugan, we have concluded on our motion that it is in the public best interest she be relieved of her official duty. Now, why is that part a big deal? You remember like 6 weeks ago, there was an election in the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and the Democrat won it, and everyone sat back like the world was going to end? Like the Milwaukee Brewers were going to fall into the center of the planet? Wisconsin, it's all over. And some people out there, I don't want to point to one of them, said, everybody, relax. Pump the brakes. You win some elections, you lose some. You go up, you go down. That's politics. It never ends. And in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, almost nothing changed. They still suspended the judge. A federal grand jury of 20 people, 20 average citizens, indicted her on federal obstruction charges. At the very least, Wisconsin, I believe, I could be wrong, I believe Wisconsin allows cameras in the courtroom. Maybe we'll get a trial. Maybe we'll get a show. Who the hell really knows? Do I think that this is a panaceum? Do I think that this is an end-all, be-all? No, I don't. I think we're going to get more and more stories like this every single day. And we need to. We absolutely need to. Because, in the words of my 2 or 3 Democratic friends, no one is above the law. That's what I was told. I'm just saying. Backlash from the left ensued over the arrest of Dugan, with protests and activists taking place in Wisconsin over her arrest. About 100 activists and protesters gathered the day after she was taken into... 100! Huh! 100 people! Please, I can get 100 people at a school board meeting, okay? For any of my Long Island audience, let them know. 100 activists. 100. What the hell are we going to do here? What are we going to do here? We ain't going to do nothing about it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to let the indictment play out, and we're going to let things keep on keeping on. Because guess what? Even though sometimes it seems like we are not picking up the wins that we want. And believe me, I'm going to have a little chat with Speaker Mike Johnson in about 5 minutes about how much he annoys me over his lack of doing anything. We are picking up significant wins all over the place. And where is that? Whereas that, where a federal judge just ruled that the Trump administration can use the Alien Enemies Act to deport illegal immigrant gang members. Picking up a win. A federal judge in Pennsylvania has sided with the Trump administration in its invocation of the Alien Enemies Act to swiftly deport illegal migrants that are part of gangs that have been designated as terrorist organizations. Judge Stephanie Hayes, the U.S. District Court judge for the Western District of Pennsylvania, wrote, "As the court stressed at the beginning of this opinion, this case implicates significant issues. In resolving those issues, this court's unflagging obligation is to apply the law as it is written. When the court does so, it finds that the proclamation now at issue complies with the Alien Enemies Act, and the court further finds that respondents must provide greater notice to those subjects to removal under the AEA than they are currently providing." So all that says is, yeah, you can deport them, you just gotta let them know ahead of time. All right. Later, bro. Having done its job, the court now leaves it to the political branches of government and ultimately to the people to elect those individuals to decide whether laws and those executing them continue to reflect their will. That's all we're asking for. That's all we're asking for. Haynes wrote in reflection of the proclamation issued by the Trump administration in March invoking the act, "The proclamation and declarations that respondents have submitted to this court indicate that there is a factual basis for President Trump's conclusions in the proclamation. Most of all, the proclamation references the fact that the Secretary of State has designated Tren de Aragua as a FTO, foreign terrorist organization, pursuant to Title IX, U.S. Code, Section 1189, a designation that heavily supports the conclusion within the proclamation that Tren de Aragua is a cohesive grouped unit with a common goal of causing significant disruption to the public safety." Let's go. More of that. So like I said, guys, if you guys are regular watchers of this show, you guys know, and I say this repeatedly, and some people don't like it, and that's okay, that we're going to get our wins. It's going to take time. It is not going to happen as fast as you or I would want. Government is not meant to move quickly. It is meant to be the sludge holding back the changing of the times. That is the whole point of government. That's why we have a bicameral legislature. That's why we have a filibuster in the Senate. That's why we have courts that oversee the rulings set forth by the president. It is supposed to move slowly. It is not governed by a simple majority. And what I want you guys to remember is, as fast as you want government to move right now, is as slowly as you'll want government to move when and if Democrats retain power. I mean that. Everything you want President Trump to be able to do right now, I would ask you, do you want AOC to do it? God forbid she wins in 2028. And right now the polls are suggesting that AOC, all out crazy, as Curtis Lee likes to call her, is the Democratic frontrunner. Please. Make it happen. Vance against AOC. Rubio against AOC. Lee Zeldin against AOC. Man, sign me up. Sign me up as quickly as humanly possible. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here today, guys. Before we keep going, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD to get their big mega sale. That is promo code LOUD. Support the people who continue to support this show. Mike Lindell has been a longtime supporter of the Loud Majority. Guys, go to MyPillow.com. Pick something up for Dad for Father's Day. It's right around the corner. Giddy up. Let's go, guys. Go to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So, basically, Congress has done almost nothing. Has done almost nothing since we've given them the House majority. Almost nothing. As a matter of fact, they've put forth less bills in the first 115 days of their session than any Congress in the last 70 years. That is a fact. Mike Johnson has done nothing. Has done nothing. So much so that there are really only two kinds of members of Congress right now. There are grandstanders, which we'll show you in a minute, or there are those like Representative Debbie Dingell. Debbie Dingell, yes, that's her actual name. Debbie Dingell was in a House hearing today, and she's had it tough. She's had it really, really tough over the last couple of weeks. Congress, they work very hard, like 8 days a month. They work hard. So Debbie Dingell, she's a little tired. So she decided that in the middle of the hearing, she was just going to pass out in the front row of the hearing. That's right. One more time, just so everybody can see it. Here is Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, absolutely lights out, unconscious. Are you kidding me, woman? Look, anybody who's ever fallen asleep in class knows that if you're going to fall asleep in class, sit in the back row. Don't sit in the front row for everybody to see it. But this is your Congress, everyone. An old woman who, for some reason, has 3 beverages in front of her, completely unconscious in the middle of a congressional hearing. Now, there are those kinds of members of Congress, and then there are the grandstanders. There are the Jasmine Crockett's, and there's the Ayanna Presleys, and there's the Ilhan Omars, the people that like to put on a show, people that like to put on a scene. And then there's people who suck at it. Because, you see, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Senator Cory Booker, many of them who annoy me to no end, are good at grandstanding. They put on a show. They get their Twitter clips. Every once in a while, you'll get ones that absolutely, genuinely, positively suck. Like Democratic Rep Dan Goldman, which we'll get. Do we have it here? Boom, boom. Where is Dan Goldman's clip? Hold on a minute. Did I not get it ready? Give me 1 second here. My apologies, everybody. My apologies. Democratic Rep Dan Goldman, who got absolutely skewered by Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier today when Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to put up a unanimous consent form, a unanimous consent decree about Kilmar Abuego Garcia. Democrats, of course, cannot let this man go. They can't let him go. They keep bringing him up, even though America doesn't want him here. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, in a hearing with Kristi Noem, decided to bring up old Kilmar. Here's how that went. And watch Dan Goldman get absolutely abused.
An appellate board agreed. ICE officers
you are misstating what
reliable
Mr. Goldman,
informant.
the clock is not yours right now. She has the floor. Please continue answering the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A Maryland County
She's not answering the question, sir.
No, she's going to answer the question, and then you can object to her answer.
Can you make sure that she answers the question?
Finish answer. You just said, please finish your answer.
A Maryland County Police gang unit agreed that he's MS-13. A reliable confidential informant agreed that he's MS-13. ICE officers agreed that he's MS-13. An immigration judge agreed that he's MS-13. An appellate board agreed that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, your Maryland man, is MS-13.
Okay.
I
Have the
object.
floor. What do you want to say?
I object because she is misstating the record and the facts. That is not accurate, and therefore I object to that being introduced. There is no.
Mr.
Well, sir, can
Chairman?
I explain? You let her go on.
Go ahead.
There is no final court order establishing that he's a member. Maybe he is. So you should put all that evidence before a judge, and if he is MS-13, he should be deported. That's what we're talking about, but you're misstating what all of that evidence is.
No, I think I'm going to make a point here. You basically just read what the Attorney General said, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't assert that this was a court order, did you? Did you assert that this was a court order?
I read the Attorney General of the United States.
And you have a right on our committee to submit for unanimous consent or a vote if we want to put it to a vote. This for the record, correct? Is that it?
Yes.
That is correct. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
she has a right.
Can I review what she is submitting?
No, she can submit something to this committee.
But it matters that she just said she represented exactly what the Attorney General said. She has a document there. I would like to see that document.
Let's make a copy
to
for
see if her
everybody,
representation-
and we'll vote on. I'm going to hold on just a second. We're going to hold. You're calling for the question? We're calling for the question. The clerk, we're going to need to set. Hold on just a second. Brief recess.
Please, let's get this on the historical record.
This is great.
We voted in support.
All right, there's
Mr. Higgins, I'm just asking
hold
to
on.
see the document.
I have the floor. All right, so we have a motion to vote on the submission of this.
And this is why nothing gets done in Congress. This is why we've had the least amount of bills put forth. Because all these people, parliamentary inquiry, nobody gives a crap. Nobody cares. Luckily, we've got Kristi Noem, who decided to let Dan Goldman know exactly what she thought of him as she went off the top rope on him.
Mr. Abrego Garcia, pursuant to this court order.
It's got to be extremely discouraging to be one of your constituents. To see you fight for a terrorist like this and not fight for them is extremely alarming to me.
I'm fighting for due process, and that's under the Constitution.
Gentleman's
and you
time
should
has
fight too for
expired.
due process.
The gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize Ms. Green for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Democrat.
You see, Dan Goldman, what you're not understanding here is, and this is what I love about the overarching number of Donald Trump's picks for his cabinet, for his higher level appointments, is that the majority of them have one quality in common. One big one. And it's that they're not going to take any crap from these idiots. They're good on camera. They know how to fight back. They know how to punch first. And as I've said for a long time, Republicans for far too long in this country have gotten punched in the face by Democrats and sat back and just said, please stop hitting me, instead of swinging back. Well, Kristi Noem's not going to take any of that crap from a political hack like Dan Goldman, who made his bones impeaching President Trump back during impeachment hoax number 1. Not going to take it. And Democrats can't let Kilmar go. It's all they're talking about. Despite the fact that we see what's happening here. We see that smart Democrats, politically savvy Democrats, are starting to notice that immigration is the only issue, and I would even put it above the economy. Immigration has become the number one issue for most Americans. And Trump wins on those issues. Trump wins on those issues. He wins every single time. So much so that Gavin Newsom the presidential hopeful and snake oil salesman of the West, has now decided that he is going to pull back benefits for illegal immigrants. California, for a long time, was giving not only housing, but medical insurance to illegal immigrants to come into California. And Gavin Newsom, getting ready to run for president in 2028, has decided that that's probably a losing issue for him and is starting to pull them back. Before we get to that, guys, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is the full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, have you ever wanted to become part owner of a bank? Well, you can do that today for just $63. Head on over to own.oldglorybank.com. That's own.oldglorybank.com. And support the people who are supporting the parallel economy by going to own.oldglorybank.com. So Gavin Newsom, who I don't like, but obviously understands politics and understands the concept of the political wins, is starting to scale back the health insurance he has been promising illegal immigrants in the state of California, as well as clearing out the homeless encampments statewide. Wow. It turns out with just a little bit of pressure, Democrats can start doing what people want them to do. What a thought. Per the New York Times, Newsom is set to call for a freezing of the Medi-Cali enrollments for illegal immigrant adults in a Wednesday budget presentation, which would take place as soon as January. He also reportedly is seeking to charge those who remain with the state version of Medicaid $100 per month starting in 2027. Newsom has estimated that these moves would save the state $5.4 billion in fiscal year 28-29. This comes as the state's budget deficit. This comes as the state faces a budget deficit in 2025. Newsom has particularly blamed the budget woes on the $16 billion drop in tax revenue from trade disturbances experienced under Trump. He's calling it the Trump slump, which of course is complete and utter nonsense. He's blaming most of the loss of traffic on things like the Port of Long Beach. But what he's not estimating is the amount of businesses that have left California due to his crappy leadership over the course of the last several years. The outlet noted that Medi-Cal has been spending billions more than expected by California leaders when they made the program available to low-income residents last year, regardless of immigration status. Newsom said in a statement, the state must take the difficult but necessary steps to ensure fiscal stability and preserve long-term viability for Medi-Cali and all of its California residents. So, quick question, Gavin Newsom, and I genuinely mean this as a question. Are you pulling back services for illegal immigrants, which you claimed was racist? Or, because of your crappy budget proposals, is California now facing austerity measures like Zimbabwe or Greece? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Austerity measures? Didn't have that on my 2025 bingo card. I got to be honest. Also on Monday, Newsom released a model ordinance for cities and counties across the state to, you ready for this? Ready for this? Immediately address the dangerous and unhealthy encampments and connect people experiencing homelessness with shelter and services. The ordinance is packed in part with $3.3 billion in Prop 1 funding. His office said that the model ordinance draws from the state's proven and workable approach. You know, the one that led to homelessness tripling. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Let's do some math here, guys, okay? On the same day, Gavin Newsom announces a plan that would save the state $5.4 billion. And on that same day, he announces another plan to spend an additional $3.3 billion. It's not austerity. Gavin Newsom isn't cutting spending. He's seeing the ways of the political winds. He's seeing that the people in the state of California do not want illegal immigrants roaming the streets. Therefore, he's pulling back the incentives that are bringing them here. Guys, these are wins. These are wins. They are small wins. They are wins nonetheless. Take them. Take them and run with them. Take them and run with them. We keep up the momentum, we keep moving forward, we keep on going, and we will eventually get what we want. All gas, no brakes. You guys know this show is about activism, and I'm going to keep asking you, how are you getting involved in your local area? How are you getting involved? Because the more you get involved, the more people, the more you get other people involved. Giddy up, let's go. Guys, in just a second, we are going to, we're going to show you guys something wild. Matt Gaetz went down to the famed El Salvadorian jail, housing Tren de Aragua and MS-13 gang members to get a real view of all of what is happening down there. What President Mbale is doing, President Bukele, is doing with these prisoners, how they got into the country, what they were doing while they were in the country. We'll show you guys that in 1 second. Before we do that, let's pop this live chat up onto the screen. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's having a great day today. Giddy up, let's go here on this rainy day in the Northeast. For all my local viewers, I will be at the Three Village Street Fair on Saturday and the Bethpage Fair on Sunday, doing voter registration efforts across Suffolk and Nassau counties. Giddy up, let's go. For anybody who wants information on that, follow me on all my personal social medias. I'll be putting that out a little bit later today. I want to give a big shout out to everybody watching. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're following on Rumble. If you'd like to get a shout out, make sure you're in the Rumble chat instead of just complaining in all the other chats, as some people tend to do. How's it going? Howdy doody. So let's keep moving and grooving here. So Matt Gaetz, as I said, this is a bit of a long clip. But I want to show you guys everything. It's about 8 or 9 minutes long of Matt Gaetz down in El Salvador at the famed CCOT prison to show you all exactly what's going on here. Here's Matt Gaetz.
Soon. One America News and Time Magazine joined a bipartisan delegation into CCOT prison. We learned the stories of monsters, killers, satanic worship, human sacrifice, invaders to our land. You'll learn of illegal aliens who had been living in the United States, committing heinous crimes despite multiple deportations, until they entered CCOT, where they are a threat to America and El Salvador no more. Meet CCOT inmate Hector Gabriel. On behalf of MS-13, he admitted to killing around 50 people. But when you take that many lives, who's counting? Despite being deported repeatedly, he returned to the United States and returned to his criminal ways.
What crime did you commit?
Homicidio.
Homicide. How many?
Más de 50.
What's your name?
Héctor David Hernández Galo.
And where are you from?
Yo, de Usulután, El Salvador.
And how'd you end up here?
¿Cómo?
How'd you end up here?
¿Cómo terminé aquí?
¿Cómo terminó acá?
Sí. Terminé aquí por mis delitos. Por homicidio.
Were you deported? ¿Fue usted deportado?
Sí.
Where was you?
Yo vine deportado de Virginia.
From Virginia. Where in Virginia?
Yo era de Falls Church, Virginia.
What's it been like for you?
diferente a otros penales, un penal de máxima seguridad. Aquí solo tenemos lo básico: comida, agua, lugar donde dormir, atención médica.
What crime did you commit?
Homicidio,
Homicide. How many?
más de 50.
How did you kill people?
Con armas.
Weapons.
Aprendimos en la calle, todo se aprende.
You learned on the streets.
¿En Estados Unidos?
Es una ley en la pandilla MS-13 que para ser un miembro de la pandilla tenés que matar.
How did you get him recruited into MS-13?
¿Cómo?
¿Cómo reclutaron a la pandilla MS-13?
Matando, después de matar, lo brincan a uno.
¿Qué edad tenías cuando empezaste?
13 años.
Did you start in Virginia? You were living in Virginia?
Sí.
What was it like adjusting to CCOT when you got here? Talk about the beginning, early
¿Cómo?
days.
¿Cómo fue ajustarse acá al sector, cuando entró al sector? Fue
Muy diferente a los otros penales donde había estado. Porque los otros penales eran diferentes, pues. Antes la pandilla tenía el control, pero cuando viene este gobierno, la ley mano dura, todo eso no funcionó. Pero este nuevo presidente, el gobierno nuevo, no venía jugando. Recibimos la retribución de lo que hemos hecho. Por eso estamos aquí.
¿Asesinó a niños o a mujeres?
Niños no, pues.
No, children.
¿Mujeres?
Women.
Tampoco. Solo pandilleros rivales de las mismas, de otras pandillas.
How do you get along with the other prisoners?
Es un poco duro, porque ahora tienen uno que convivir con el peor enemigo. Ahora tenemos que adaptarnos. Así lo toca. Recibimos la retribución, como le digo. No fuimos buenas piezas.
Have you communicated with anyone outside of CCOT since you got here?
No. Un penal de máxima seguridad. Muy diferente al pasado. El pasado otros penales eran diferentes. Las pandillas tenían el control. Hoy las autoridades tienen el control de las cosas.
Bueno, tiempo.
50 killings, give or take. Violence invited to America over and over again. What matters how many times you deport Hector if open borders policies continue to invite him back in? But things are changing in El Salvador and America. To understand how Sacat Prison came into existence in El Salvador, you must first know some history. What any man, woman, or nation goes through dictates how strong they are to.
We're going to jump forward just a little bit. I want you guys to see me. Here it is.
Similar a la que acabamos de cruzar, pero esta es exclusiva para inspección de toda la población privada de libertad que ingresa al sector.
El Salvador was MS-13's protected ecosystem to grow and thrive. But never forget, MS-13 didn't get rich robbing El Salvador or merely committing crimes in their homeland. They were deeply embedded in America. We conducted the next several interviews with one MS-13 clique leader and several soldiers. See if you can identify any of the cities or states where you live in their descriptions of where they killed and tortured.
Quítate la mascarilla. De Virginia. ¿En qué año estuviste en Virginia?
99 hasta el 2013, la primera vez deportado.
¿Dónde estuviste detenido allá? ¿A dónde estuviste detenido?
Estuve en Maryland, en el estado de Maryland, haciendo una condena y después en la federal.
¿A qué clique pertenecías allá?
Virginia Loco Salvatrucha.
¿Tenías algún nivel de rango dentro de la estructura? ¿Sí?
Sí.
¿Qué eras?
Corredor de clic.
Corredor de clic. ¿En qué año te deportaron?
En 2 ocasiones he sido deportado.
¿La última vez que te deportaron?
2018.
2018. Ok, gracias. ¿Alguien más?
De Texas.
¿Tu nombre?
Julio César Arevalo Franco.
¿Estuviste en Estados Unidos como miembro de pandilla?
Sí.
¿En qué estado? Texas.
Houston, Texas.
¿A qué clica pertenecías?
Houston, Gaza, Kilmar.
¿Tenías algún rango dentro de la estructura?
No, la verdad
No. ¿Estuviste detenido?
Sí,
¿Dónde estuviste detenido?
en la Villa East, en el Valle de Texas, en el condado de Houston y en California también,
¿En qué año te deportaron?
en 2012.
2012.
He sido deportado 4 veces.
4 veces. ¿Cuál fue la última vez que te deportaron?
2017.
2017. Ok. ¿Cuántos años llevas preso acá?
3 años y medio.
3 años. Ok. Bien. Dale, gracias. ¿Hay alguien más? Espérate. Uno. Miembro de
Pandilla 18 sureño.
18 sureño. Eres deportado también, sí. ¿A dónde estuviste?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston, Massachusetts. ¿Qué eras ahí dentro de la estructura?
No era nada.
¿Soldado?
Soldado, no.
Now, why do I show you guys that long? It goes on for about 20 minutes. Why do I show you that long clip? Well, let me ask you, chat. Any of you guys hear your cities there? Anybody from Boston? Anybody from the Boston area? What about Houston? What about Eastern Maryland? Virginia? My New Yorkers in the chat, you can tell everybody about MS-13, how they've taken over our neighborhoods here, taken over Brentwood and Huntington Station and Wyandanch. Brentwood. How there are neighborhoods that you grew up in on Long Island that you cannot go to anymore. I won't walk down the numbered streets in Huntington Station at night, and I'm a pretty big guy. Anybody here where they're from? Where can we find the whole thing? Arrow Pink, if you go on Matt Gates' Twitter, if you go on his X account, it's there. He posted it the other day. If you guys are looking for it. This is something that it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or whether you're poor, black, white, Hispanic. This affects everybody. You could be from the richest area of America or the poorest area. And these people will invade your homes. They will invade your towns, your sleepy little suburban towns. You don't have to be outside of a major metro like New York to have to deal with this stuff. I suggest everybody go and watch that full video. So like I said, it's on the OAN Twitter account. It's on Matt Gates' Twitter account. I would urge everybody to go and watch that. You guys know I'm a big fan of. Matt, good friend of mine. We're working on getting him on the show to talk about what he saw while he was down there. Guys, we're gonna keep moving and grooving here because there is a lot more that I want to make sure that I get to throughout the day. Obviously, we have a deal in Qatar for American planes. We're gonna get to that. We're going to get to Stephen Miller responding to the 57 people we let in from South Africa and why immigration matters, why refugee status matters, why it is important, I think, to even still have a refugee program because it does matter. And as I said at the end of the show, I promise I'm going to make each and every one of you cry. Before we get to that, here's Jeremy.
Oh, hey, folks, how you doing? Jeremy Harrell here, LFA TV. I was just reading up here on Fatty 15. Sounds kind of funny, right? It's not, though. Fatty 15 is a new supplement that we are taking here at LFA TV that I'm personally taking myself that has a nutrient in it called C15. And what is C15? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can thank our aquatic friends, the dolphins, for science figuring this out. The first breakthrough in 90 years about what the proper amount of C15 in your body can do. Every one of us wants peace. Every one of us wants to experience joy and a long life with our kids and our grandkids sitting in a setting like you see behind me. Well, there's one way that you can do that outside of eating right, having a good diet, exercising, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, but also taking supplements that our bodies just don't produce anymore because we're all breaking down, especially as we get older. Fatty 15 has a nutrient called C15. And what this does is it, first of all, repairs your old damaged cells and then kind of slows down the aging process of your cells, giving you longevity of life. And 72% of people taking Fatty 15 see massive benefits within 16 weeks. Some earlier, some later. But those benefits are absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Most people said their liver and heart health feels much better. A lot of people said that their skin is changing. They feel like they're healthier. Their metabolic system changes. And ladies and gentlemen, it's also vegan friendly. Now, Fatty 15 has 3 times the cellular benefits as any omega-3 or fish oil. Omega-3 and fish oil also can go bad after a while. By replenishing our cells with this C15 nutrient that I'm talking about in here, Fatty 15 effectively repairs cells and restores our long-term health. Now, I can get you a 15% off a 90-day subscription right now by going to fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. That's fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. And ladies and gentlemen, despite the name, it's not going to make you a fatty. It's actually going to give you something that you've been wanting for a long time, to feel younger again. Who doesn't want that? Fatty15.com/LFA, code LFA. Check it out now. Thank you guys so very much. Have a wonderful day.
So, guys, I want to talk to you guys about America's refugee resettlement program, because this is obviously something that's been in the news for quite some time, and I don't think people really understand exactly what the point of it is, what it does. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it something we should do away with? Why do we have it in the first place? So obviously, over the course of the last several days, has been in the news the fact that the Trump administration has resettled 57 South Africans here to America. People who were claiming persecution in their home countries. Now, when we talk about refugee resettlement, we've heard numerous times that every one of the people Joe Biden has let in over the last 4 years, they've all been actual refugees, but that's not really true. That's not really true. And the United States has a long, long history of allowing refugees into the country. Most notably, this happened in 1975 following the Vietnam War, when we allowed in many of the Vietnamese who helped us out during that war. That was probably the most pronounced time that it happened. Also, there were a lot of refugees who came into the country following World War II and throughout the Indochina refugee crisis. Many people following World War II were allowed to come to America. That's what these things are for. Throughout the UK, for example, they allowed in many of the people expelled by Idi Amin. And I think that countries who are safe, countries who can support a reasonable number of people and can do so, should do so. I do believe that. They've let in 57 people fearing death from South Africa. We're America. We're a welcoming country. However, but just because your country sucks, that is not reason enough to claim refugee status. And Stephen Miller makes that very clear when he gets questioned by the press on the South Africans they have let into the country.
But what's happening in South Africa fits the textbook definition of why the refugee program was created. This is persecution based on a protected characteristic, in this case, race. So this is race-based persecution. The refugee program is not intended as a solution for global poverty, and historically it has been used that way. Wherever there's global poverty or wherever there's dysfunctional governments, then the U.S. refugee program comes in, swoops people up, relocates them to America, and you have multi-generational problems. You even into the second and third generation, you have endemic poverty, you have crime issues, you have integration issues. The U.S. refugee program in America has been a catastrophic failure. I mean, if you look, for example, at the Twin Cities area, I mean, just in terms of markers of educational outcomes, in terms of public safety, in terms of welfare use, I mean, it's been a complete public policy failure. And so this is an example of the president returning the refugee program to what it was intended to be used as.
Returning it back to what it was intended to be used as. Now, I want to be clear. If they shut down the entire refugee program following the invasion we've had in the United States of America, I really wouldn't necessarily have a problem with it, because I think it's time that we shut off the tap. I think it's time that we start moving people out rather than bringing them in. But for the people out there with their fake outrage over these 57 people, and of course, the majority of them are saying it's race-based because Democrats physically can't stop talking about race. Nobody in America wants to talk about race, except for the most radical members of the left and elected Democrats. They can't stop doing it. And then they wonder why they keep losing. So, guys, keep it locked in here. My video that's going to make you guys cry is about 2.5 minutes long. We're going to wrap the show with it today. I can promise you, you're going to be crying. Before we get to that, I do have a couple more news stories I want to get to. Also, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA TV related. Check out the LFA TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming monthly donors over to LFA TV. That's the best way to support this channel and this network and everything we've got going on over here. Also, your Rumble rants are, of course, always appreciated here. This is user-generated content, and we can't do it without your help. So, some good news. Some good news for Congress on the bipartisan front. I mentioned it on yesterday's show. Speaker Johnson, I hope you're listening. You might as well do something. Congressman Ro Khanna, who seems to be the best Democrat out there, still insane, still a radical progressive, but I guess you could say the best of the worst, he has decided that he is going to attempt to codify President Trump's executive order on prescription drugs into law, and I think we ought to pass this immediately.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to introduce as legislation President Trump's executive order for the most favored nation status on drug pricing. My legislation will codify President Trump's executive order, which basically says that Americans should not pay more for drugs than people in other countries and other parts of the world. Right now, we're paying 2 to 3 times more for our drugs than people in other industrialized nations. Now, this executive order, codified by the legislation, will allow our cabinet secretaries to put pressure on Big Pharma and make sure that they are not price gouging, and will allow for the importation of cheaper drugs. So you ask, why do we need the legislation? Because the reality is that Big Pharma will sue for the executive order like they did in the previous Trump administration. And in the previous administration, they managed to kill the executive order. The only way we can stand up to Big Pharma is to codify in legislation what the president wants to do in an executive order. So here's the deal. If I can cross the aisle and support President Trump's executive order in legislation, every Republican should be willing to cross the aisle and support my legislation. It's a pretty simple test. Are we going to stand in this body with the $16 billion that Big Pharma spent on lobbying? Or are we going to stand with the American people? We will know that answer based on how many co-sponsors we get for my legislation that simply codifies Donald Trump's executive order.
Now, according to reports about this, the executive order that Congressman Khanna is talking about is the exact same language as President Trump's executive order. If that is the case, then it ought to be passed immediately. And I'd like to thank Congressman Khanna for doing so. If there's some kind of nonsense poison pill in there that institutes Medicare for all or any of the other Democratic wish list items, then we should not do it. But we will wait and see. We'll wait and see. So as I said, guys, as we wrap up today, who is ready to cry? I want to introduce you guys to a boy named Justin who had, well, just watch.
Justin, you are the best looking guy, and I got your message. On this one. Have lunch in the White House with Donald Trump.
So when you're better, which will be very soon, you're going to come to the White House and I'm going to be with you and we're going to spend a lot of time together. We're going to talk about the history of the White House and even the history of our government, the history of our country, because I know you like that. But we're going to have a good time. We're going to have lunch and you're going to bring your friends and your parents and it's going to be something special. So get better quickly because I really want to spend some time with you. Take care. Thanks, Justin.
Never in a million years did I think that I would be here making this video, but as of May 10th at 8:09 p.m., Justin is no longer with us. And I just wanted to say thank you all so much for your love and support over these last 10 months. You guys changed Justin's life so much through this journey, and my husband and I are so forever grateful for that and everything you guys have done for him. You guys made his journey so much easier for him, and to just let him be himself on the internet and let him help others and let him do what he wanted to do was just a blessing. And I'm so glad we did it. I'm so glad I have all these memories of him. The good and the bad. But we wanted to let you know that we will be live streaming the service for you guys because you were such an amazing part of his journey and the last part of his life. So we thought that if anyone wants to be a part of the funeral and watch, that you deserve it. So the funeral home is going to help us out and live stream from my TikTok. They're going to live stream from my TikTok at 5 p.m. on Thursday, Eastern Standard Time. And any information about the funerals in my bio and the GoFundMe. Chris and I talked, and we were just so heartbroken that Justin didn't get to go to the White House. He would mention it all the time about when he got to go, what he wanted to do, and what he wanted to ask President Trump. And if you happen to see this President Trump, it would be an honor to have you at Justin's funeral. I know that's asking a needle in a haystack or trying to find a needle in a haystack, but it's an impossible task to get this to happen. I just think Justin deserves it so much.
Let me explain something to you guys. I got to watch President Trump do that with Liam LaCastro. That's the kind of man he is. And that's the kind of man the media will never show you. And that's why I voted for him 3 times. And that's why if I could, I'd do it again. Guys, Will Johnson's coming up next. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.